You don't defend the people, you defend power. Zohran Mamdani's voice echoed through the crowded auditorium, sharp enough to cut through the restless murmurs of the audience. His hand pointed across the stage, unwavering, directed at Elise Stefanik, who sat stiffly in her chair. When families cannot pay rent, when students drown in debt, when the working poor must choose between food and medicine, whose side are you really on? Not theirs. Never theirs. The room was already tense, but now it boiled. Gasps rippled across the audience, some clapping instantly, while others leaned forward, hungry for Stefanik's reply. The scandal had begun, and everyone knew this was no ordinary debate. This was confrontation in its purest, most explosive form. Elise Stefanik straightened her papers, her jaw tight. Zohran, it's very easy to grandstand with outrage, but the reality is, your so-called solutions bankrupt hard-working taxpayers. Your socialism destroys opportunity. Do you really want to turn America into a place where hard work is punished and laziness rewarded? The crowd roared, half in applause, half in jeers. Cameras clicked like rain. The moderator, pale and nervous, attempted to calm the crowd, but the energy in the auditorium was too strong. This wasn't just policy talk. This was war, the kind of war that could make or break political futures. Zohran leaned forward, his tone fierce yet measured. Tell me, Elise, what do you say to the single mother in Queens who works 3 jobs and still can't afford childcare? What do you say to the immigrant family evicted from their apartment while your donors build luxury towers? What do you say to the young student right here in this room, staring at a lifetime of debt before they've even begun their life? The questions weren't just aimed at Stefanik. They were daggers thrown into the heart of the system itself, and the audience could feel it. Some students shouted their approval, others whispered anxiously. The scandal was no longer about who was right or wrong. It was about who could survive the pressure without crumbling. Elise tried to strike back. I'll tell you what I say. I say America is built on personal responsibility, not government handouts. We succeed because we work hard, not because government props us up. The more you push your radical agenda, the more you undermine what makes this country strong. Her words found support in a group of conservative students near the back, who stood up and applauded. Yet they were quickly drowned out by chants from Zohran's supporters, who shouted, "Justice, justice, justice!" The clash of voices rattled the walls of the auditorium. In that moment, Stefanik looked cornered but not broken. She shot back with her own question, sharp as a blade. Zohran, if your ideas are so powerful, why haven't they succeeded anywhere else? Why should America gamble on your reckless vision? Zohran didn't flinch. He paused, scanned the crowd, and lowered his voice, so calm that the silence became louder than the shouting had been. Because this country has never truly tried justice. We've tried profit, we've tried greed, we've tried abandoning our people, and it has led us here to record homelessness, record debt, record despair. Why are you so afraid of hope, Elise? Why are you so afraid of people believing in something better? The silence broke into thunderous applause. Students leapt to their feet, some holding signs, others chanting his name. Elise Stefanik clenched her jaw, realizing the ground beneath her was shifting. What had been staged as a debate was now spiraling into scandal. Her reputation under fire, her composure cracking under Zohran's relentless barrage. And yet, the night was only beginning. Cameras rolled, journalists scribbled furiously, and the world beyond the auditorium waited to see how far this clash would go. If you're watching this, tell me in the comments, who do you think speaks for the people, Zohran or Elise? And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see how this unfolds. Elise Stefanik slammed her hand on the table, her voice rising above the noise. You accuse me of defending power, Zohran, but let's be honest. You stand here pretending to be a man of the people while living off the very system you claim to despise. You're not some revolutionary. You're a hypocrite playing politics for applause. Gasps filled the air, and the conservative side of the crowd cheered. Reporters leaned forward, pens flying across their notepads. The debate had twisted into something raw, no longer about policy charts or speeches, but about tearing down character. Zohran's face hardened, but he didn't strike back with fury. He let the silence simmer before responding, his voice low but carrying through every corner of the room. Hypocrite? Elise, I spend my days in the homes of tenants fighting eviction. I walk the streets where workers line up at food pantries. I've been arrested for protesting the same corporations that bankroll your campaigns. If I'm a hypocrite, then what does that make you, a mouthpiece for billionaires? A politician who smiles for cameras while communities burn? The words detonated like dynamite. The crowd erupted, students rising to their feet, fists in the air. The chants grew louder. Zohran, Zohran, Zohran. And Elise Stefanik's composure cracked. She snapped back. You think shouting makes you right? You think theatrics make you a leader? Real leadership is protecting our economy, our jobs, and our future, not tearing it apart for your radical dreams. But Zohran pressed harder, pushing the scandal deeper into dangerous territory. Jobs? He asked, his voice sharp. What jobs? The ones that pay starvation wages while CEOs pocket millions? The jobs where workers are treated like disposable tools? You defend an economy that works only for the top 1%, Elise. Tell me, how many lobbyist checks have you cashed while children in this city go to bed hungry? The audience gasped again. Elise's eyes flashed, her face red with anger. That's a lie, she spat. And you know it. I work for every American family that believes in freedom and opportunity. Zohran stepped closer, his finger cutting through the air. No, you work for power. You work for corporations. You work for donors who will never sit in a classroom like this, never struggle to pay rent, never wonder if their kids will eat tonight. And that's why we are here, to expose that truth. The room was a storm now. Students screamed, some standing on chairs, security shifting uneasily near the walls. The scandal was no longer controlled. It was alive, untamed, spiraling in front of flashing cameras. Then, Elise tried a new weapon, fear. She turned to the audience, her tone sharp but commanding. Listen to him carefully. He offers you promises of free housing, free education, free everything. But nothing is free. Every handout he dreams up comes from your pockets, your parents' pockets, your future. Are you ready to work your entire life to pay for his fantasies? The conservative students applauded wildly. The moderates hesitated, caught in the middle, and that was when Zohran made his move, one that would shift the entire night. He walked to the edge of the stage, facing the audience directly. Let me ask you something, he said, his eyes scanning every row. Is your future truly yours if you spend it paying off debts you never chose? Is your freedom real if your rent swallows half your paycheck? Is this opportunity, or is it a cage dressed up with patriotic slogans? The crowd went silent, the weight of the questions hanging in the air like smoke. Elise Stefanik's attack had shifted the debate, but Zohran's counterattack pierced straight through it. Reporters scribbled frantically. Cameras zoomed in. The scandal wasn't dying, it was escalating, feeding off every word, every reaction. And as the applause swelled again, Elise's face betrayed something she hadn't shown all evening: uncertainty. For the first time, the audience wasn't just questioning Zohran, they were questioning her. If you're watching this right now, share your thoughts in the comments. Whose vision do you believe in? And make sure to subscribe, because the fight is far from over. Elise Stefanik stood, no longer hiding her fury. Her voice cut through the clamor. This is what you want? Chaos? Division? To pit American against American until nothing is left? Zohran, your rhetoric doesn't inspire. It destroys. You want to burn down the house we've built for generations. Her words carried weight, and for a moment, even Zohran's supporters quieted. The tension was unbearable, the air thick with anticipation. But Zohran didn't back away. He stood tall, his tone steady, almost surgical. "Burn down the house?" he asked. "Tell me, Elise, what kind of house do we have today? One where millions are locked outside, freezing, while the wealthy dine inside by the fire? A house where the roof leaks on families who work harder than anyone in this country, yet they're told they don't deserve shelter? If that's the house you've built, maybe it does need to come down." The audience erupted again. Cheers, whistles, thunderous applause. Students stamped their feet on the floor, shaking the auditorium like a drum. Elise tightened her grip on the podium, her voice rising to match. "And what then? You want to rebuild society in your image, dictating what we can earn, what we can keep, how we can live? That's not freedom, that's control." The conservative crowd shouted, "Yes," and waved their flags. But Zohran didn't let her gain momentum. He raised his voice, firm and unyielding. "Control? Elise, when landlords set prices that crush working families, is that not control? When corporations buy politicians to write laws, is that not control? The truth is, you're fine with control, as long as it belongs to the wealthy." The crowd roared, chanting again, "Justice, justice, justice!" Elise's face flushed deeper, and sweat glistened on her forehead. She tried to push back. "You're twisting everything. You stand here and call yourself a champion of the people, but all I see is a man offering illusions. Tell me, Zohran, when your promises collapse under their own weight, will you take responsibility, or will you hide behind slogans?" Zohran paused, letting her words hang. He then looked out at the students, the workers, the press, his voice soft but magnetic. "If fighting for affordable housing is an illusion, then why do families cry to me at night about eviction notices? If demanding health care is a slogan, then why do parents hold their children in emergency rooms, praying they can afford the bill? If calling for justice is reckless, then why are so many of you here tonight, risking your voices, demanding change?" The silence that followed was suffocating, and then it shattered into thunderous applause. Students leapt from their chairs, shouting his name. Elise Stefanik's jaw tightened. Her attacks weren't landing anymore. She could feel the scandal turning into something she couldn't control. Reporters scribbled notes like wildfire. Stefanik on defensive. Mamdani electrifies crowd. The cameras zoomed in on Zohran's calm expression, while Elise's frustration grew more visible by the second. Then, almost in desperation, Elise struck where she thought he was weakest. "Zohran, you speak of justice, but you don't understand sacrifice. You've never had to build a business from scratch, never had to shoulder the burden of keeping others employed. You preach equality, but you've never carried true responsibility. Isn't it easy to criticize when you've risked nothing? The audience hushed. The accusation hung heavy. For the first time, Elise had tried to turn the scandal personal. Zohran stepped forward, close enough that the space between them seemed to vanish. He looked her straight in the eye, his voice steady and fierce. Risk nothing? I risk everything every time I stand with the people against the machine you protect. Arrests, threats, smear campaigns, and tonight, right here in front of these students, I risk my career because I refuse to lie to them. Tell me, Elise, what have you risked, besides your reputation for another donor check? The crowd exploded, cheers shaking the hall, the scandal now unstoppable. Elise Stefanik's expression faltered, her words stuck in her throat. For the first time that night, she looked cornered, surrounded not just by Zohran's fire, but by a sea of voices demanding answers she could no longer provide. If you're watching this, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Who's risking more, Zohran or Elise? And make sure you subscribe, because this fight isn't over yet. The auditorium was a storm. Students shouted over each other, reporters scrambled to capture every word, and cameras flashed like lightning. Elise Stefanik gripped the edge of the podium, her voice trembling but still defiant. "You think this circus makes you a leader?" she barked. "You rile up young people with false hope, but when reality strikes, they'll be left broken. And you'll be long gone, remembered only for your noise, not your results." The conservative corner cheered, trying to reignite her strength. But the larger crowd had shifted, leaning towards Zohran, waiting for his next move, like spectators at the brink of history. Zohran Mamdani stepped forward, raising a hand to quiet the chants. His voice dropped lower, calmer, sharper than ever. "Noise? Let me tell you about noise, Elise. Noise is what you hear when Wall Street celebrates record profits while the Bronx buries another family evicted from their home. Noise is what echoes when billionaires buy elections, drowning out every working-class voice in this country. What I bring is not noise, it's truth. And truth will outlast every slogan you hide behind." The room fell still, every eye fixed on him. Even Stefanik froze, her mouth half open, her next attack stalled. Zohran continued, his words carrying like fire through the silence. "You say I offer illusions, but what's more illusory than pretending America is free while millions are chained to poverty? You say I risk nothing, but I stand here knowing powerful people will try to silence me tomorrow. You say I divide us, but tell me who divides this nation more than leaders who pit rich against poor, immigrant against native, neighbor against neighbor, just to keep themselves in power?" The audience erupted, thunderous applause shaking the auditorium to its foundation. Students jumped to their feet, clapping, chanting his name, some with tears in their eyes. It wasn't just support, it was belief, swelling into something undeniable. Elise Stefanik's face drained of color. Her hands trembled against the podium. She tried to speak, but her words were swallowed by the roar of the crowd. The scandal had consumed her. The stage that was supposed to showcase her strength had instead revealed her weakness. Zohran raised his hand again, and the room gradually hushed. His voice now softened, no longer a blade, but a steady anchor. "This isn't about Elise. It's not even about me. It's about you. The people in this room, the people watching from home, every student drowning in loans, every worker cheated out of fair wages, every parent afraid of tomorrow. Tonight, you've seen the difference between defending power and defending people. And I promise you, I will never stop fighting for you. The crowd roared again, deafening this time, as reporters scribbled headlines that would travel far beyond the university walls. Elise Stefanik, once so confident, turned her gaze downward, defeated under the weight of voices she could no longer sway. And in that moment, Zohran Mamdani stood, not just as a debater, not just as a politician, but as a hero in the eyes of the people. If you believe in this fight, leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Your voice matters, and together we can make it louder.